Welcome back, subscribers. I'm going to cover this really quick. It's just something that came up. I was doing a claim for one of the telephones. It's inside of our network for it's inside of our business. So it's like one of our employees has a telephone that was damaged. So we have to go through and make a claim through AT&T's claim division, whatever, and it's called Assurian. A lot of people have this, but what I'm going to be talking about is digital identification, because I keep harping on this, that there's going to be basically it's a bottling up of identification, and it's relating on a number of different pathways. So it's like your telephone, it can be your it's not mortgages yet. I just saw something about automobiles that I rented a jackhammer, an electric jackhammer at Home Depot. KYC'd me to do the contract with that. That was 5 or 6 months ago. You're gosh, getting on an airplane. I just KYC'd for something else recently. That at any rate, you always have to do it for crypto. It's always been in place. So it's a know your customer, KYC, know your customer. And what it does is it's taking your driver's license. So that's the reason why you have your driver's license is this real ID. They want to like really identify that you have what's called nexus inside inside the space that you have. So say if you get pulled out by the police officer and he says like, is this your current address? All right. So that stuff has to remain, it has to be up to date in order to be doing business. Now you can fool around and not really be part of this, but if you're not staying up with, compliancy and being transparent with, your identification, you're going to have a really hard time doing business. And that business means like maybe getting your phone repaired, or maybe just like, who knows, it's going to be renting a piece of equipment at Home Depot or rental agreement or something like that. So the large corporations are going to be doing this obviously sooner than the rest of them. But there's going to be a trickle down effect where they're going to automatically be required, but it's already part of the embedded system, if you will. So for example, use Google. And Google has already like essentially digital identified you based upon all of the data and everything that you've put into your phone, or Samsung or Apple or so on and so on and so on. So now the next level to this is it's trickling down into regular business commerce. Now it's possible that the reason why I need to have this, it's possible that because this is a business telephone plan, it's possible that regular privatized people don't have to deal with this. So I don't really know. Maybe comment, see, post a comment, see if it's something that somebody has seen. But I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share and show you this screen that popped up all day. I'm going to do a quick video on this just to kind of show people like what's going on. So let me shrink my screen down and then show you. So there's a little me over there. Okay, so this company through AT&T is called Assurian, and it's just asking to, verify your identity. Online verification is quick and easy. Of course, they make it sound like it's great. Take a picture of your driver's license to the other side of state-issued ID and uploading it. This is KYC. Make sure it's they want the front and back of your driver's license. All right. And my driver's license right now, the one that I have, is currently not a real ID. So I've got till, I think, April. My birthday's April 22nd, so I've got till April. So I've got, like, I have to like do it this month. So I think I'm gonna either do it like, I'm gonna go Monday or get documentation with this weekend. Next 2 weeks, I'll probably go get it done. Hopefully, North Carolina lines, it's like you're getting in a soup line to go get your driver's license. So I think I'm gonna get out of my county and go to an adjacent county that has a lot less population, and because it seems like the DMV offices where we are is like they have the same amount of officials, inside the DMV office. So I'm just gonna like drive 20 minutes the other direction and go into a different county because I'm like on the very bottom edge of my county. But at any rate, so in order for me to be able to get this phone repaired, I have to be the one that does the KYC. Now I have to do the KYC for my, which is interesting for this. And this is where some of these applications are going to come in for um, tricks that we used to do in business in general. Meaning like to kind of, you know, make it so that you have a business expense by maybe having adding telephones like your maybe people in your household, your children's telephones, or an extra line or something like that. And each time that you do that, they're going to need to have identification relating directly to whomever has the contract. So you can have a bunch of telephones out there, but if one of my employees has a problem with their telephone, I have to be the one that KYCs through myself. And they've already asked for my digital identification number for my company. So you're whomever is at the top of the heap is going to have to be the one that is compliant and is responsible for those that are underneath you, underneath those plans. So also, if you have employees that are doing nefarious activity on their phones and things like that, that in the future it's going to be uh, it's probably going to be part of this social credit score type of thing, like whatever they're searching, whatever they're it's all going to be identified essentially through your company. So think of it as like an extension of your family. You know, you have children, and whenever your children go off and you go out and pillage the village, whenever they're underneath the wing of your adult environment, you know, your parental space, the parents become liable. That's the way it is, at least in North Carolina. I know that if you, for example, you have minors and the minor does something, the parents in a lot of cases are the ones that become liable. So people can go after the parents. So, uh, yeah, that's kind of scary. I think if you have a bunch of employees inside your company, you're not going to really have too much control over what they can and can't do on their mobile devices, which are technically under the wing of the company. So I think it's luckily I have very few people that are underneath that wing, and I speak with them and tell them about this, whether or not they do it or not. Like children, is kind of beyond my control, but I think ultimately what I'm going to be moving towards is I've already kind of talked with them about this, is that their mobile phone plans will be separated. But like we won't be providing a mobile phone anymore through the company because I don't want to deal with the responsibility of the liability risk of that person because I don't really know that person. So if it's internal and you have your own personalized plan, that like they have family plans and things like that. Again, a family plan would be like if you have a child. So again, if you have a minor that's underneath you, then the parents have to be the ones that contract because you can't contract and get a phone unless you're 18. And even then it's more difficult because it's gonna be a higher cost. It's just like getting insurance. You know, if you get insurance on your own, you're 18, you're like, yeah, you can get it, but you're gonna really pay. So your parents are gonna be ultimately the responsible party that are responsible for all the little chitlins that are underneath them. And so you're supposed to be managing your children and the activity and the behavior and things like that, which is like next to impossible if anybody's had kids before. So anyway, the same elements are going to be coming into play, and I'm already seeing this through on the corporate side. So ultimately, they want digital ID to be individualized on the device so that they know whom and when and where and like under what umbrella it is. Um, Restrictions and things on devices. We just ran into something just recently this week with something just as simple as apps, trying to download an app on a tablet, and it wouldn't let us down. It wouldn't even let us use the apps. I couldn't even download a Home Depot app where I just tried it just to see if it would be allowed to be downloaded and used. And Home Depot is not supporting tablets for their apps, a big company like Home Depot. And that's because there's no SIM card, there's no identification to a lot of the tablets that are out there that you can't have. There's not a telephone number and a person that's related to the device. So they want the device to be married up to like a telephone number and an identification, which is a KYC, so that whatever information that you're looking at is going to be tracked and traced. And so, yeah, we're moving into this totalitarian Big Brother overlord environment, and it's like, well, you're not going to be able to get out of it unless you live under a rock in the mountains or get out of the United States. That's the only thing I could say. You're going to have to deal with this, but if you're a good citizen, you're a good person, and you stay politically non-vocal and things like that, or you keep things privatized and you get behind a paywall, you create a community, you can say whatever you want behind the paywall. And that's what we're doing at Reservoir, is being able to say, like, okay, we need to continue to keep trading information as human beings and keeping it out of the digital space. And that's really important. So we're basically have created a moat, if you will, around human interaction and our thoughts and directions and things that we want to do, and our decisions that we want to make, and keeping them inside the privatized paywall environment. And that's the importance and the reason why we started this project in the first place. So it's really a Reservoir is a marketing business for companies, but it's also it's a community for people to trade ideas and find out actually really with what's going on, where there's no censorship, and there's no repercussions back into the system because it's not public, it's private. You're allowed to do this. We've done a lot of research on this over the past few years, and only like, well, this seems to be really the only option. So if we can continue to communicate with people and keep it out of the public forum, and how we decide to formulate that is, all right, let's move in that direction. Let's go ahead and get that started now. And that's what we're doing now. So in the next 5, 10, 15 years down the road, that we've essentially created this privatized country club is what we've done. And as more people start seeing activity like this happen, they're going to be seeking these communities to become part of, and hold their proprietary information and knowledge, and not spill it out to the public. Because as soon as you do that, you kind of earmark yourself. If you have a voice and you're a truther, you're a whatever, that you have inside information or something that just doesn't want to be spilled out into the public forum, then you can get it off your chest inside of the Reservoir. And that's why when I have interviews with people and things like that, like, people know things, but it's not palatable for the public environment. So anyway, there'll be more of this, and it's just things to look out for, and time stamping this. And I'm trying to think of like how, when I post these videos on the public, it's really just kind of identifying with what's going on, and getting people prepared so that you don't paint yourself into a corner and get all like tough on it, and think that you're going to go and write your congressman, whatever, put up solidarity flags, protest, whatever else, be like, this is an overarching grid system that they're putting in on the digital side, and they have lulled everyone to sleep using their telephones, giving them away for free, getting everybody to be lots of screen time, and so on and so on. And now it's this addiction device that is peeling into your own existence. And basically, like, if you're not following the social guidelines, then you'll have the less ability to be able to be communing and finding things. I ultimately, so Google is allowed to do this because of the terms and conditions. Microsoft is allowed to do this in the terms and conditions. Apple, same thing. It's all the same stuff. So it's not a government, but it's a faction of this new globalized financial system / control system that's in place. And I'm fine with control. Like, hey, I got a driver's license and I know what the speed limit is, but sometimes I like to run the car up, whenever I'm in a space where I can, not have the police after me. I like to have fun. So there's, inside of a system, I want people to know and make this clear, is that whenever they create new rules, there's always like a gray area where you're allowed to do something. Okay, so it's like you're gonna have to have like basically two sets of books, like how you run your life behind the scenes, and then how you have your personal public life. Okay, and the public life would be everything that's digital, everything that is a correspondence. So if you have your own personal thoughts, belief systems, whatever else, those have to remain privatized, and they just don't want them spilling into the public forum. Even though if it's right, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But inside the community, yeah, you can create those spaces, and it actually makes a more healthy. From my perspective, it makes a more healthy community environment because number one, it drives people to commune with one another, to know that there's other people that are like-minded and think, that want to move towards the same goals. And it keeps the riffraff out. It keeps people that are you don't have to fight with other people inside of like-minded communities. It's not necessary, so at any rate, there'll be more of this to come. Like I always say, I'm covering this very closely because this is directly related into some of the business endeavors that we have cooking behind the scenes that I'm doing for one of my companies. And I was like, well, we're gonna go ahead and kind of chronicle this in a way that as people start to learn this new system, that they're going to have to understand the rules behind how to basically navigate through it. And that's where really the difficulty is going to be for people that are just starting businesses. They're not going to know that there's a kind of a behind the scenes overlord that's kind of watching you, right? And be like, well, how do I get away from that? Do I just have to be a good person all the time? Be like, well, kind of, but behind the scenes, behind closed doors, you can, be in one of these communities, and then, like I said, trade information and things like that, and get real inside information so that you can navigate out further, 5, 10, 15 years, and structure your personal life and your business life, um, just play the game. That's all it is. It's just a big game. All they're doing is just changing the rules, or they're keeping the existing financial system, but now they've upped the ante and saying like, okay, are you legit? Are you who you say you are? If you are, then you could be 100% transparent, which everybody says they are, but at the end of the day, uh, people what they believe is correct is not, because again, it's all driven by belief systems. So that's why I talk about histories and church and all kinds of different things that are all interrelated to this, because you have to be very cautious of how you got to the point where you believe in something, or it is your personalized constitution. Like, how did you get to that point? Did you see it? Did you experience it? Or were you indoctrinated? Were you birthed into it? Are you working a particular job? Is it the territory in which you live in? Somebody that lives in a rural community opposed to a city community, their perception is completely different of their everyday existence. So that permeates into their daily do, and it permeates into their belief systems. So they want it more uh, bottled up and consistent so they can manage the chaos. All right. And those of us that are entrepreneurs, we know that uh, how many of us have gotten into this position is because we've essentially seen how the regular system worked, and then we found out by talking to people and asking questions of little nuances and things that you can like we entrepreneurs that are they're self-made people operate typically in the gray matter of information. Like, we hear what's going on, but we're like, nah, there's got to be something else that's into that. There's got to be some other little tidbit that I can be doing or not doing that will uh, give me a hell of a lot less friction moving in the direction that I want. Okay. And this is going to be one of the major game changers that's going to happen to all of the existing old, what we call legacy companies, and just small businesses, whatever, that have been around just forever. Families that own tons of property and territory inside of towns and cities and things like that, and they're going to be pushed on to become compliant. And part of this compliance world is ESG and giving back to the community and all this other crap. So we're just trying to figure out a way and be like, okay, this is a new system. This is a new way it works. And as these things kind of permeate their way in, and be like, okay, well, this is what they're saying, but this is what you can do. Okay. So again, it's like, they're not saying that I can't have a privatized community. And be like, okay, I'm going to have a privatized community. You can't go on YouTube and put out your comments, because they can cut that off, just, shadow ban you, do whatever else. And be like, Well, we're not going to deal with that. That's why when I got started with this, I'm like, the material that I put on public is going to be like really vanilla, and it's going to be kind of cryptic because I'm going to tell you kind of to a certain point, but I'm going to be encouraging you to get into the community. And people say like, yeah, but it's like $100 a month for me to get all the premium material, and be like, well, all you have to do is just shoot us an email and set up an interview, and I'll grant you free access inside of the space. And see, like, well, what people have asked me, like, well, what are you selling? I'm like, now information, knowledge. I said, it's power. That's, if you have information and knowledge, uh, it that's invaluable. It's gold. So, and if you can have it outside of the public space, I'm like, that's privatized. I want that. That's ultimately what I need, because most of the things that I've had and learned over my 30 plus years in business is that all the really good information gets traded just, in passing, and whenever that happens, it's not necessarily, it's not written down, it's not anything, but I'm like, we can kind of log this. This would be really great. And then for people that are just starting off, they can pay the $100. Maybe they don't have anything to contribute, which is totally fine, but you can come in and pay the $100, and you get like real information, stuff like this, but you're going to get like real world examples of how people are inside of specific businesses and how to navigate in order to better your life and your family, and you know basically cut a new directive, if you will. Like, they're resetting the markets and resetting how business and commerce is done. So at this point in human history, it's a huge money grab, and it is a think of it as a territory grab. So you can get as much territory as you want to create generational wealth for your family if you know how to play the rules. It's just, these are the new rules, and but there's always a workaround. They always create a workaround. Don't ever think it's all ones and zeros. There's always a little bit of a gray area, and that's what we try to really focus on with what we're doing. More to come. Cheers.